Hi guys and welcome back. I would love to talk about one of my favorite ways to get started on a piece. I find that this little trick helps a lot with me feeling more creative and more excited about a project, and it actually sounds really counterintuitive, but it works so well, and that's coming up with restrictions for yourself before you start working on a piece. So when you start on a piece, at least for me, if I don't have any restraints at all, no things that I'm trying to fit the piece into, that I have all of the options. I could literally do anything with it. And that is the thing that totally keeps me from actually starting on a piece. It's kind of like the white page syndrome, where you're looking at a blank slate and you have anything that you could do, and then you don't do anything. But when you give yourself restrictions, it helps you work around challenges and find interesting solutions to those problems that you've given yourself. So it's really fun. I love it. This is in a lot of ways how assignments work in school, and that kind of environment helped me so much. I loved being able to have an assignment with a set, sometimes it was a set subject matter or the medium or the technique that we were using, and then being able to work around that and finding things that plug into it just works really well for getting the ideas going. Personally, I like to come up with a couple of restrictions for myself. When I have a few, then it allows me to really play against each other and find ways that one can fit into the other really well. And one of the first ones that I think about is size or dimensions of the piece that I'm working on. So for this piece, I worked really little and I wanted to create a character and tell her story, but I wanted it to be really small. So that was one of the restrictions right off the bat, is that I knew it wasn't going to be a full character. I wouldn't have the space to put in lots of other details. I wouldn't have the space to give her a full outfit or a background or an environment. So I needed to be able to find ways to tell her story in this very micro solution, this very small painting. But I also really love looking at different dimensions of pieces that I can work on, things that are a bit different from what I usually work in. And that allows me to think of completely new composition solutions. And also it allows me to face new composition challenges that I'm not used to. And that really does help. At least it helps me to break out of a certain staleness with working in pieces. And sometimes that's the thing that I need, is I need a new challenge. So recently I did a couple pieces that were square, and that was really fun. I usually work in about like an 8x10 dimension. So those were different. I also have a new piece that I'm working on, starting kind of, it's a circle. So that'll be really fun. I don't normally work in circle format like ever. So that'll have a completely different way that I will interact with the surface that I'm painting on, and the way that I solve certain composition issues, I won't be able to rely on in the same way. And it's really exciting to start thinking about how I can actually do something that's new and different that fits within that composition, that new dimension that I'm working in. And I find that working in different dimensions or different shapes, even, like sometimes I've worked at triangles before, I love those, that can actually make some subject matters that I've already done before and I love, but it makes it feel fresh and new and different when it's placed in this new constraint. So that can really breathe some new life into things that you might feel you would like to feel new with and excited about. The next restraint that I like to work with is probably the broadest, and that's where I like to give myself specific subject matter that I want to work in. And this can be as varied as me wanting to paint a certain type of mood or environment, or certain design elements like moths. I love including moths, or bones, or anything like that. Even if it's something that I've done frequently, if it's that in combination with another restriction, it gives me new ways to play off those things, new ways to challenge myself with those. And there really are countless things that you could give your restrictions for. And I find that oftentimes when I'm really struggling, it's because I just am not really focusing down on one thing. I'm not giving myself enough time to figure out a good idea that works with one idea before I switch to the next thing and I jump and I jump. So if I give myself a very specific thing that I have to paint, say a painting that has a bat in it, I'm not allowed to switch off to something that has a fox in it. I have to work on something that has a bat. And that makes me really nail down how can I make this composition interesting? How can I be excited about it? How can I utilize a bat? It makes me actually think through the challenge rather than trying to find a new idea that I think will be better, which usually isn't. But overall, it just helps me stay focused specifically on one direction that I can go. So rather than feeling like I could go anywhere, and once I get tired of thinking about one thing, I can just switch over and never end up with a final product. It keeps me moving on the same road, on the same path, and I can keep looking down that and say, this is what I'm going to paint, and I'm going to find a way to make it something that I'm excited and interested about. And there are countless ways, like I said, to give yourself restrictions for how you like to work, from mediums, if you use specific types of mediums, combining them, ones that you haven't combined before, or trying out new mediums. So really, there are endless things outside of mediums and things that I've talked about that you can give yourself restrictions for, especially the more that you know about what you like to work with, what you'd like to do. You can really tailor it to yourself and your own artistic goals. But one of the last things that I like to restrict myself with is color palette. This is one that I tend to really gravitate towards the same types of color palettes. And sometimes I need to give myself a set color range, and then I have to work on a piece that fits into that. And that allows me to really break out of getting in certain ruts that I sometimes get where I just really do the same thing over and over again, which is fine. I really love certain colors, but it helps give me new challenges. It helps me to think about how can I paint the subject matters that I love with a different way of presenting it. I especially love doing this when I'm looking at how can I paint a certain atmosphere or mood. I can really play with the types of colors that I may not normally pick, and then it helps me to really get creative with how I'd actually portray that. But there are a lot of different ways that you can pick the color palettes. You can pick them from pieces of artwork that you love already, and that actually is a great way to start off with, is just finding art that you love. You can take that entire color palette and apply it to your own artwork, or you can simply give yourself, say, a complementary color challenge or tertiary. There are so many color palettes that you could pick from, and then sticking to that and then combining it with one of your other restrictions will really help you to nail down a direction that you're going with your piece. And then it just all comes together. And it can take effort and time, of course, which is the fun part of planning out a piece. But being able to do that and knowing certain things are set helps you to get really creative with things that are uncertain while you're planning your piece. Hopefully this gave you some ideas on how to give yourself restrictions to get more ideas, to feel more creative. This is one of my tried and true methods for when I'm just feeling completely uncreative, completely stuck, not excited about working on a new piece, no ideas. This helps so much. I love it. I love this method. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I do have this original painting available at my shop. There's a link down in the description that'll take you over there. And it is going to be part of the sticker pack tier over on Patreon for July. So if you'd like to get this whole set of stickers, then make sure to sign up for the sticker tier by the last day of July. And I think that's about it for today. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.